for others to join us for this afternoon series of the webinar. Actually, our webinar is part of the Skill Future Months to focus on the jobs creation and of course on the skill competency. So what are the skills required to become relevant and also employable in today's context? So let me just play a video. Actually, the video is about our video of EA chapters. So let me just play the video.
Elementum 30 years ago was organization structure, org structure. Okay, but I want to have the digital map that I can ask. So if I tell you that you are Mr. So and you are from that department, so can I just open digital map? I want to know what is your role, and I can also find out which are the department that you are working closely in your enterprise. Okay, and I can also find out what actually your SOP, your day-to-day job. Okay, are you approving? If yes, you're who approving it? What processes do you do? And after that, I also want to know which IT system that's supporting it. Okay, if you can give me that answer in 5 minutes, you don't need EA. Done. Many people said EA is a project. I have done my EA 3 years ago. Here are the proof, right? And most of the case is that the EA that they have done is in a static book, okay, static deliverable. As soon as you printed that static book, immediately obsolete. The second part, many people think EA is can eliminate the complexity. Okay, the fact is not the word eliminating, but is managing. Okay, how can now we manage that complexity and we do better than the rest? The third one, of course, people say that enterprise architecture is only for IT team. Okay, that is totally the myth. It was correct 20 years ago. You talk about architecture word, pass it to the IT team. But now, the enterprise architecture involve, the stakeholders, key stakeholders, the decision maker. Then involve a motivation of all the divisional head and also strategy, capability of the business. If the company don't have this type of so-called adoption on the architecture concept, they will not go anywhere because the world is moving very, very fast. So how fast can you respond? That is the question that we need to ask. With the EA, you can respond it quite quickly because you know exactly that I need to change my entire product offering, and the digital map will tell you like the GPS, right? It tell you, okay, these are 20 processes impacted, these are 3 departments impacted, these are the IT system that need to change, and you quickly make a decision within a day. What are you going to do? Without EA, you still can make a decision that may take weeks or months, depending on how big is your enterprise. Moving forward, the complexities and the digital complexity is exponential, and there must be some way to manage this, and you cannot do it the way we used to do it in the past. The benefit is that networking, I think, is very, very important. We believe that we can learn. I don't think we claim that we know everything. That's why we need to get the input from the industry, and they can do some validation, like check and balance.
Okay, with that, let me just take about 2 slides to introduce who we are. So for those of you who are not a member of SES, so I would encourage you to join SES. And of course, when you join becoming a member of SES, please join our EA chapters. Yeah, so I have, of course, a selfish motive here. So let me just introduce about our objective. So our objective, actually, we want to accelerate the EA adoption as part of the digital culture, because we know that we are all heading towards digital, especially with the last 3 months that COVID-19 already turned our world upside down. So the digitalization is no longer a luxury, it's no longer an option, but it's the mandatory. So we also need a lot of people to understand the concept of EA so that we can accelerate achieving towards a digital nation. And of course, secondly, is to equip people, you and me, with the right competency and the best practices. Because what happened is that when we are driving a digital transformation, we need to somehow unlearn and relearn for those of us are already working in the last few years, 10 years, unless you are a newly born or maybe you are just teenagers, maybe it's already a native digital skill with you. But most of us, we need to unlearn and relearn. That's why we need to be able to adopt new practices. Of course, the third one is to alignment with the IMDA mission, that we want to create a local talents, because later on my presentation towards the end, we show you a statistic about the jobs demand of architecture in Singapore. It's quite daunting to know that huge demand but no supply. So what happened is that, of course, now due to COVID-19, we cannot bring in a foreigner, but otherwise the foreigner will take over all our jobs in local market, especially on the architecture role. That's why we need to build a local talent. And of course, the last part is that we need to grow a membership, because we need to work together, share the best practices on how we can support so-called digital initiative in our enterprise as well as in our nation. So these are the committee members. So I will not be going through each one of them, but you can get the feel that all the members are coming from a diverse vertical. Yeah, from the healthcare, from the banking, from gaming, from education, from aviation, from transport, as well as from technology vendors. So we are here to work together. So we are putting behind of all our differences, and we work and talk about how best we can support the community in terms of the driving the EA adoption. So with that, I think I would like to hand over the time to Nelson. So Nelson will be presenting about his experience in going through digital transformation with enterprise architecture. Then after that, I will be doing a Q&A with him. And of course, in the same time, we also open up any question that you might have. You can just type in, then we will ask opinion or answer from Nelson. Okay, with that, Nelson, I hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Aaron, for the introduction. So maybe Aaron, you can stop sharing. Yeah. So I will share my screen first. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to attend this presentation. So today I'm going to present on the importance of enterprise architecture for business transformation. All right. Okay, so today I got 4 topics. First, I will introduce what is enterprise architecture. So there's a lot of different interpretations. So I would like to set a baseline and correct the interpretation today. I will also talk briefly about what is the challenges that we face today. What is the digital EA approach and some of the experience that I have. And finally, the value and the lesson learned from my own experience doing EA transformation. I hope that you all can value from this and see how best to be able to do your own EA transformation within your own organization. What is enterprise architecture? So this is quite a mouthful. Okay, this is from the Gartner IT Glossary. Okay, let me go through one round. Enterprise architecture is a discipline for proactively and holistically leading enterprise response to disruptive forces towards desired business vision and outcomes. Okay, so it's quite lengthy. So let me cut it short for you. The gist of this statement is enterprise architecture leads enterprise response towards desired business vision and outcome. So you see, based on the glossary, enterprise architecture did not associate itself with technical or IT. It associates itself with business vision and outcome. Okay, next slide, I'm going to talk about what is the different type of architects we have in the market right now, so that people can appreciate the difference. Okay, firstly, there's the technical architects. So these are your typical Java architect, infrastructure architect like myself, who is doing the hands-on designing of the solutioning. We're also defining best practices and standards across the implementation. So these are your very traditional technical architect who specialize in their own domain. Second, I think a lot of people are very familiar, solution architect. Solution architect is a generalist. They combine different design and architects from different domains join together, piece together a solution and present upwards as a holistically. So this is the most familiar term of architects people are familiar with. So next, what is enterprise architect? There's a lot of misconception what is EA. So a lot of my IT and non-IT colleagues have this perception that EA is solution architect but at the enterprise level. Now, what is the correct definition? Enterprise architect map the technical processes of the entire enterprise. Primary focus is to review structure which people and technology work together for optimal organization performance. So you notice that the definition here also didn't talk about IT, nothing technical about it. It's more about how people and technology can work together for optimal organization performance. So it's more about transformation, your organization, people, process, technology, holistically. Okay. What is the challenge facing organization today? Silo technical department running their own solution and architecture. So when I first started work many years ago, this is very apparent, and everybody just design their own solution without care of how it integrates holistically to an organization solution. Sorry, so I will take the question and answer later. We will proceed with the slide first. I think this is still apparent now. Even currently, certain organizations are still running their own solutioning. They are still quite silo on this. Lack of EA standardization. This is apparent in many organizations today, whereby business or application architecture which is presented to the management is done in PowerPoint, whereas the technical design of your servers or your back-end processes is done in maybe in a certain type of sensor in visual, and your security architecture is done in other type of sensor in visual. So there's no standards for all the enterprise architecture artifact. Unclear organization capabilities and depths. Okay, this is very important for architect. So when you join a company, many times you do not see the full picture of organization capabilities and depths. And we are always just joining in and going in to architect the next solution. But we do not know what the organization have and what does it lack. So we are unclear organization capabilities. We are really designing something that may not gel well with what the organization have. Lastly, the challenge is inconsistent approach to EA implementation. I'm talking about enterprise architect implementation and not any technical implementation. So many companies, EA is not funded, and they are really perceived as an order taker. And the business strategy and IT is not aligned. So you have business strategy going in one direction and IT going in a different direction because they are not aligned. And this is due to the different integration requirement they have. What is the result of this? Spaghetti architecture. I think this is quite self-explanatory. So it means that you have very fragmented architecture artifact across organization. Non-reusable of organization artifact. Yes. So you have certain artifact in, you have certain design in PowerPoint, certain design in visual, and maybe 5 PowerPoint in his laptop and 2 PowerPoint on my laptop. So you don't have a central repository and it's not reusable. So what is the impact of all this? The major impact for all this is you are unable to correlate technology and business goal and strategy holistically. And you result in misalignment. What do I mean for this? For example, you have a company and your company goals is to increase from 1,000 customer base to maybe 10,000 customer base. But your technology goal is to streamline operation, cut costs, and reduce capital expenditures by maybe $500,000. So now you see that there's two conflicts. From a business front, I'm increasing. From a technology front, I'm reducing. So there's no point in saving maybe $100,000 in your technology where you just lost $5 million worth of businesses revenue due to the misalignment. So with this type of misalignment, the real impact is you will fail to achieve organization goal. So that's where digital EA transformation come about. How do I harness these two things together so that I can achieve organization goal? I will talk about what is the digital EA approach. Then I will also share some of the experience I have. Okay, this is from Gartner EA and Technology Innovation Chart. So I'll just briefly talk about this. Remember, the primary scope of EA is people, process, and IT. All right, EA is not technical design, neither is it application design. It's people, process, and IT. There's three types of architecture that's discussed. So we have first the inside out. Inside out primarily look at internal people, process, and IT, and seek to improve operational value to the business. So I think this type of architecting, it happens all the place. Whenever you have certain reorg, you see how processes can be better done, but you may not have a terminology for it. So the right terminology is architecting inside out. Next, outside in. What is architecting outside in? Outside in focuses on the business outcome to deliver value. So I look at the business outcome that the organization wants, and based on the business outcome, I work within the organization to guide the changes to people, process, and IT to drive this outcome. So this is looking at what I want from the outside, transform internal organization, people, process, and technology to drive this outcome. Lastly, is architecting outside out. So this one is a bit different. This is, we are actually looking beyond organization, customer, and beyond the immediate scope of the organization. What is outside out? So I give a very good example. Currently, we are in phase 2 of the circuit breaker. The COVID has have a major disruption towards any organization, and it actually drives changes and innovation. For example, the culture of working from home and digital adoption within the last few months, the take-up rate skyrocket because of COVID. So that is the disruption that we are talking about, and we need to see how that impact translates to your organization and do the appropriate transformation to cater for it. So that is architecting outside out. How to enable digital EA? This is a process to do digital EA transformation. This process can be reiterated. So I just go through the 3 points. First, digital strategy. We are actually looking at the organization goals, capability, and driver in the context of technology adoption. So we are looking at what does the company want to do, what is its goal, what it can do, and what is the push or the pull factor for the organization. So this high-level information many times are not available, and we need to map this out to have a context for the whole organization. Second is the digital enterprise architecture. Okay, this is the groundwork of digital EA. This is where the most time is being spent. So digital EA actually consists of a digital enterprise map, which connect business, data, application, and technology, architecture to support digital transformation. So what does it do? It actually map out the different architecture together holistically and show the connectivity between. It's like I'd be able to see what will happen if I decom certain system, what goal will impact my organization. Or I can see certain organization goal is there, but it has not been fulfilled by any of our IT system currently. So we'll be able to see the correlation once we map it out and see any gaps or any opportunity to exploit for digital EA transformation. So lastly is the digital EA transformation. From the mapping we have done in digital strategy and digital EA, we can see how best we can transform and improve the organization efficiency. So for example, for ourselves, we actually went through one round of transformation. We set up a central repository to keep all the artifacts. We define 25 technology architects across the technology group so that everybody is an architect and they can work on the designing of their own specialized domain. Part of the digital transformation that we did is also we have changed certain process, add more check and balance in the work stream in the PMO framework so that we can ensure that certain architecture requirement is being catered for. So this is what we have done, and this process can iterate across organization to drive digital transformation. So just now I talked about digital EA, then from there there's a digital enterprise map. So what is a digital enterprise map? So let me just share this screen. So a digital enterprise map will consist of 4 things. First, the framework. What framework are you using is for your digital EA. For us, we're using TOGAF. What tools are you using? There's BizDesign, there's Orbus, there's a lot of other tools you can choose. Skill set, definitely the skill set will be an IT architecture book of knowledge, which we need to be able to do EA transformation. Lastly, what's your notation? Notation is, we are using Acumatic. What is Acumatic? Acumatic is a common modeling language that can model your strategy, business, application, technology, and physical layer in a single tool, and we can map the correlation out together. So that's the key factor for digital EA transformation, is to be able to see all the impact across in a single tool. So for those who are EA trained, you will notice that I have a map of TOGAF right here, A to H. So this is the TOGAF way of implementation EA. So this is not to replace your current project management SDLC process. Neither is it to replace your current agile framework process that you have. This is meant to complement your current process. It's meant to make sure that the architecture requirement, check, balance, and approval is catered for within the process so that you do not have any gaps when you implement. And when you're doing implementation, it also ensures that you do not just look at the solution silo. You can look at the whole solution holistically and how does it fit with the overall digital EA blueprint for the organization and what's the value. Yeah, that is the purpose of the digital map, and that is the most time-consuming portion of the digital EA transformation. Next, I'll touch on some of the value and lesson learned. Okay, what is the value of digital EA? Okay, first, after we embark on this digital EA transformation, there's a few things that we discovered. Firstly, we have greater synergy and collaboration towards architecting. So as I mentioned earlier, we appointed 25 technical architects across the technology department, and we work collaboratively, and we use a common modeling language, which is Acumatic. So everybody speak the same language, talk the same song, and that enhance the architecting solution effort across the organization. Second, with the Acumatic, we're also able to correlate and perform impact analysis across organization domain. So once you have mapped out all your business strategy, application, technology, architecture, we can actually link them up and you can see the impact clearly. What is the gap? What is the opportunity to exploit? What we are good at and what we need to improve. Thirdly, empowerment of technical team to practice digital EA and create EA as a culture mindset across organization. Okay, so I'm not so sure what is the architecture headcount in your organization, but my experience is never enough. For example, we have 100 over system altogether. So our organization got about four architects full-time on this, and that is barely enough to cover what is required. That's why we employ an empowered technical team to do digital EA, and they also help to drive that mindset. So before they do any design and solutioning, they will ask themselves, how does it correlate with the organization holistically? And that's where they engage us, and we will help them on this journey so that everybody work along together and have this EA culture mindset. Lastly, it also allowed deeper understanding alignment of business strategy needs with IT architecture. So just now the example I gave is that the IT and business is not aligned and they are going in different direction. So if we map it together in a single tool holistically and see the impact, we'll be able to go a certain direction together with business to make sure that we are aligned. And if there's a change of business strategy and direction, we can quickly innovate our IT strategy to change together. So that is a very strong value that we can have today. And that is also one of the gaps that the organization have between business and IT today. Lesson learned. Okay, just now we always talking about what's EA. So the key is people, process, and technology. They are the key factor for digital EA transformation. But of these three, people is the cornerstone. It is the cornerstone because they are the one who's adopting EA. Processes can be defined, technology can be bought. People must be enabled and empowered for digital EA transformation. So when you're doing digital EA transformation, remember the people are the one who is helping you. Engage the people, talk to them, work together and journey with them, and you can have a very successful transformation. Governance process. We actually have a hard lesson of governance process. So previously, we document our EA artifact in another tool. But however, after all the hard work has been done, there's no formal process for information flow to route back to the EA team to ensure that the digital enterprise map that we did is being updated. As time goes by, the trust in the digital enterprise map is not there, and people gradually stop using it. So all the effort that was put in previously is lost. So right now, the lesson we learn is before we embark on any architecture effort, we always ask ourselves, what is the governance process? Can we ensure that changes is being propagated back to us, and we are aware and make sure that we can make the appropriate update and information flow back to management to make informed decision. So that is a hard lesson learned from us, and it's a good lesson for everybody. Okay, lastly is EA collaboration. So for this EA collaboration, I actually engage ATD as an EA consultant to come in to help us. And the result has been greatly enhanced by their involvement, because what they bring aboard is their knowledge, experience, and expertise in dealing with many EA transformation for many organizations. So before we hit a brick wall, we already know the wall that is there and how we can overcome it, and what is the challenge that people typically face, and what is the solution that we can go or work around that challenges. So we are guided in a sense. But however, do take note that the digital EA transformation is under the ownership of the EA team within the organization. The EA consultant will help you with their knowledge, experience, but the organization need to own this, because nobody knows how the organization works better than the EA team. So, I have very good value from a collaboration with an EA partner, and I hope that the partnership can continue and be mutually benefit. beneficial. Okay, that's the end of my slideshow. Thank you very much. So now I pass back the mic to Aaron.
All right, Nelson, thank you so much for your insightful experience. So you can hear that his experience is actually born from his sharing is born from the experience. So he didn't, refer to political and etc. So let's dig up more to find out about him. That's very, very important. Well, in the meantime, I would also encourage those of you who want to ask a question directly to Nelson. It's no point to asking me, asking Nelson about his insightful experience, because you might think about what's the relationship between digital transformation, about architecture, why my EA team don't do as what it was supposed to be, and etc. Anything, right? So let me just begin, because I think Nelson has shared a lot, but one thing that he has not shared about himself. So let's listen about him. Maybe Nelson, first question I'm going to ask you. Can you tell us more about your background and experiences, and where from your, if you don't mind, from after you graduating from school until today? Yeah,
okay. All right. So I have not introduced myself. So let me do a quick introduction. I'm a local born and bred Singaporean. So I go through the poly route, I go uni, and I actually work at the end user IT environment. I started out as a system administrator, specialized in DBA subsequently. Has been involved in many technical roles throughout the years, tech leads. So I'm actually doing architecting very early in my career, but at that time, people don't call it architecting. They call you a design, you are tech lead. Then I progressed for that. I work in SI, government, in various roles. EA transformation, I took up this role in Singapore Pools last year to do it. And actually, I have a very enjoyable time, because architecting and whether it's technology-based or non-technology-based, working out a solution is actually what I'm driven to do. I'm very happy to be able to do it, and I see myself staying in this domain for many years to come. Yeah.
Right, great. So maybe want to get the insight from you. I believe prior to this current experience in the last 2 years, you have, I mean, like just now you mentioned you've been doing design, architecting, or etc. But what do you think key differences between what you did in the past and what you are doing now in terms of the architecture? Because what happened is that I believe some of them also will be asking, will be having this question, because they said, oh, architecture is what I define, and many people have different views. So what is your personal experience?
So there's two parts. So what was I doing a few years ago versus what I'm doing now? So a few years ago, my architecting is mainly focused on technical architecting. And currently, I'm focusing on both technical architecting as well as enterprise architecting, looking at the process flow of time of things. I think the key is architect do not have all the solutions. I do not know everything. I'm leveraging on a lot of people, and we are getting business knowledge. We are getting technical knowledge for all the various groups, and based on what we know, and based on what we know of the organization goals and drivers, we are designing and architecting a solution, a business process, or technical solution for the organization. So the perception that EA is a technical architect or they know everything, that's not very true. We are the glue that gel everything up together for the management to see. Yeah.
Right. So next one, we want to find out also about your challenges, right? So even though you enjoy your work, definitely challenges exist. So perhaps you could tell us 3 key challenges that you are facing, and how do you address that?
I think 3 key challenges. Okay, let me try to put. I think one of the main challenge is silo solutioning lah. So in IT especially, there's a lot of specialization, and everybody did their architecting in silo. So they are not receptive to look at the thing as a whole. So the solution architect or the EA need to come in to make sure that the whole thing gel together. And I think it's need to let them know how their domain expertise contribute to the whole solution. So that is one of the key challenge. Another challenge that I see is that different domain architects or different technical architects, they don't talk to each other. They are very specialized, very competent in their domain, but because they're so specialized, they fail to see the different aspect of architecting. So as such, you also come up with solution that is sub on par or have a lot of duplication. So that is also something that I see that is happening out there. Thirdly, one of the things I see that is actually very apparently even now is that people do not know what is EA. Even today, my wife, when I checked with her, her thought of EA is a technical architect on the enterprise level. So to me, that is the wrong conception, because EA don't look at technical, and it's actually, if you look at all the definition, it's not a technical role. It is process, people, and technology merged together, and we are looking at organization-wide and not in any technical domain. So I think that portion, always when I reach out to people, I need to inculcate what is EA and what we are doing and how I can help them. So before we can go on the journey together. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nelson. So you know that industry definitely need a lot of enterprise architects. Yeah. So on my presentation later towards the end, I will show you how many the current job have opening in Singapore that require the architecture skill set or competency. You'll be surprised with the numbers, but I will just leave that into the end. But I just want to get a Nelson insight in terms of, like, you know, because we need to get onboarding of many architects. So what do you think the best way, if you want to encourage someone, or perhaps you want to expand your team, if you have a limited so-called to hire from external? Because hiring external people with the ready skill architects are very rare. That doesn't mean impossible, but very rare. But I think that's why Singapore Computer Society we are trying to fix this. We are trying to make so-called churn out as many professionals who are ready with the EA competency. So now, if while we are waiting for that one to get churned out by the society, what is the best way, your advice, for someone who want to switch for the non-EA career to become the EA career? So there could be a business architect, information architect, or data architect, application architect, technology architect. What do you think your advice? Because many people are struggling. They want to apply the job and they are not so sure about the job. So what do you think, what should they do?
Okay. Personally, I'm a strong believer of education. So I have done a lot of education after my graduation. So first of all, you need to know what's EA, what's technical architect, what's the difference, and you need to get yourself educated on knowing the difference. After you know the difference, based on the experience, actually you realize that actually many of you are actually doing some form of EA one another. And with the knowledge gained in the course, you can go for a job. But of course, there's two types of people. So there's first type, which is technical folks like myself, who has been in the technical industry. So those people will be suited for the technical architect with enterprise architect part-time. So remember that not everybody is a full-time EA. So there's many of time we are double heading. So I myself is an infra architect, but I'm also an EA. I'm also double as a solution architect as well. And for those who are not technical, another path is that EA is actually not purely technical. I have reiterated a few times before. There's business architect, there's information architect. We are looking at a business, how business is being run within the organization, how we can streamline the efficiency of business. So those will need people not from the IT, but with maybe process-oriented and business-oriented people, and those can look up the path of EA as well. So yeah, but of course, you ask me if a fresh grad want to be a BA, I think it's a bit difficult, because you need to have certain, have worked in the industry before and know what, have seen what the industry like before he can embark on it. But education is the key, and with that you can start. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Nelson. So let's now move on into the bigger pictures about enterprise. I think the word digital transformation is everywhere and has been around, I guess, in the last 8 years. I don't think it's 10 years yet, but the last 6 to 8 years was very, very active. You know, I remember, if you remember 20 years ago, every conference, if you don't have the title client server, nobody would like to attend. So the last 8 years, everybody using the word digital and transformation. Because if you don't have that word, nobody would like to attend your seminars or your talk, right? In fact, the project as well, because of that word digital, so every project also now got the word digital, because if you don't put the word digital, you don't get approved. So this is basically irony about our society. Actually, we are still doing the same thing. It's like normal IT project, but we call it digital because digital, the procurement, the finance will not approve it. So now, of course, we also heard about Gartner mentioning that EA, enterprise architecture, is the gateway for digital transformation. So gateway means something that is the door for you to enter. And of course, now many digital transformation also already fail. And in fact, I've come across many digital transformation team that has been defunct. So dismantle the whole team because don't deliver value in the last 3 to 4 years. So maybe we want to hear the view from Nelson about what do you think EA, according to, I mean, let's just so-called confirming what Gartner says, that enterprise architecture is the gateway for successful digital transformation. What is your view on that?
Yeah, actually, I resonate with what Gartner is saying. Maybe let me elaborate better. So what is EA? What is EA transformation? Digital EA transformation is not doing some fanciful design or whatever. Ultimately, you see the definition, we are trying to create value for the business. What does the business want? We're creating value, we are doing alignment. So in order to do that, then you need EA to come in to be able to remap. So it's okay. One example I can give you about EA transformation. If you look at today current COVID situation, the pandemic situation, I heard a few weeks ago that Zara is moving out of retail. They are doing a pure online shop. So what are they doing? They're doing digital EA transformation. They are transforming from a retail shop base to zero retail shop, and they are expanding on the internet front to become an online store. So from that, they definitely did business technology transformation internally before they did this. So to stay relevant, everybody, I feel that need to do EA transformation, especially the situation now. We need to transform to be able to create value for the organization.
All right. I think I would like to have a checkpoint for others who are listening to this webinar. Perhaps you have some question that you want to find out about, the experiences or about, the challenges that Nelson has gone through. Maybe specific area, if you don't want to mention about your company, you mentioned about a typical enterprise. Perhaps it's the opportunity for you to type in, because rare that you have a so-called a live experience like but Nelson to share the insightful what he has gone through, in the last few years or maybe a decade or more. So keep typing the question, and let me just ask one more question. Then after that, I will select a couple of questions that I think appropriate for our discussion. Okay, maybe the next one we want to know about a digital twin. Okay, so the word digital twin, I think, has been, I wouldn't say abused, but used by everybody, right? You go to any vendor, security vendor, network vendor, everything said digital twin. So now we want to talk about, of course, I think those of you who have listened to Nelson explanation on the Archimate. So Archimate is basically the diagrammatic way to replica what our physical world into the digital world, so that we can to the digital model, so that we can do transformation. Perhaps we want to know about the experience or the insightful of Nelson experience in terms of the leveraging on the Archimate to create a digital twin, and how that can help an organization moving forward.
Okay, so previously, prior to using Archimate, we are doing our own architecting in our own tool, some in Visual, some in other tool. And the issue is it cannot correlate. And as soon as it leave our laptop, after a while it becomes obsolete. So what Archimate bring to the picture is it bring a common modeling language, so that the business architect, maybe in my business department, my organization, the technology architects, the application architect, everybody use the same tool in a central repository, talk the same language, and we join the dots together. So when we do it, we are joining the dots from business to application to data to security to technology. We're joining everything together, and we can see the impact of one have each other holistically. So that's the very key value that Archimate bring to the table. a lot of time in my previous, we need to talk to the architect before we understand, because even if you give me maybe what they have modeled, I may not be in a position to understand what they're saying. But once we have a common language and it's all linked together, I don't even need to involve them much. I know their impact and I know how best to model my technology architecture so to suit and be aligned with everybody. Yeah.
Right. So, okay, I still have a couple of questions for Nelson, but let's just take a break from my script. Let's look into the Q&A from the audience. Okay. I think let me just pick up some of the question I can answer. Some other question I will pass to Nelson. So let me just go through the first one from, I think, John Oz. Is TOGAF 5 useful? Doesn't seem to be promoted for many subsidized. Oh, no, it's not true. Actually, TOGAF 5 is not TOGAF 5. Is TOGAF now is 9.2. Yes, 9.2. Okay. So TOGAF 9.2 is a very powerful framework. Basically, it's putting you into the right mindset. So basically, on how you can use that in any situation, if someone challenges you or the team are doing their own way, you can say, guys, let's come back. Let's see what a TOGAF phase A about vision are describing. So basically putting us into the right track. That is the usefulness of the TOGAF. You need to comprehend, because what happened is the prescriptive guidance. And I think talking about the subsidies is, I will mention later, is TOGAF also qualified for up to 90%. If you are Singaporean, above 40. If you are PR, permanent resident, you are entitled for 70, I think, yes, 70%. Yeah, 70% a grant. So there's a funding available. Yeah, so I hope that I have answered the question number one. Unless Nelson want to add about the usefulness of the TOGAF.
No, to me, TOGAF is the foundation to EA lah. So everybody should try as much to learn from it, and that is your gateway to being an EA. Yeah.
Okay, the second question also from the same person. Are EA really much in demand in SG? Job seem few and far. I think it's not true. Let me tell you a statistic that I just dig up today around 11 a.m. So it's just 4 hours lapse. I don't think the job will disappear in the 4 hours, right? So in the thousands of numbers. I will show it to you later. Next question is, but where are the job for PMET? We won't get even past human resource even if we are skilled. I'm not so sure about the rest of the profession, but let me assure you, in terms of like architecture, is still in the high demand, because as I mentioned that actually we have done a study. Many of the architects, if you see in any big company, normally are import professional, because it's very hard to groom locally. So like very hard to get many Nelson in our country. So that's why we need to get going. We run the program, we create the awareness so that our local architects can also impart or better than the import one, because yeah, that's the reality of life. As you go to any of the big organization, all your chief architect are typically import professional. But soon we are, I mean, it's not that we against them, but we are trying to groom our local talents in terms of the architecting the enterprise. Yeah. Okay. Next question is on the new normal. Has always been a hot terminology used now. New normal. So this in short. In contrast, digital transformation has always been a topic in the recent years. How do you see digital EA transformation evolving from the old norm to a new norm? Well, Nelson, you have any comment on that?
No. So I think there's a new norm come from because of the recent experience we have with COVID. So what is the new norm? The new norm, well, if you look at this, is architecting outside out. So a lot of things has changed, and we need to transform in order to do it. So I give you an example of Zara. So Barry, what Aaron said, actually you need more EA now more than ever, because your business needs to transform to survive. And I think we are defining the new norm right now as we speak. Working from home is a new norm. Video conferencing, webinar is a new norm. So this will slowly progress, and we will come to a new norm maybe in a few months' time when these things stabilize. Yeah, that's my personal take.
Yeah, I think the other thing to add, I think has also been described with the Nelson, that if you go to any company, if they say that they have already EA, they will tell you that, oh, my EA has been completed 2 years ago. If you ask them, show me, they will show you a stack of documentation. I mean, it's nothing wrong with the documentation or Excel a spreadsheet. And I also come to know a company that are maintaining all the entity relationship or the enterprise using Excel spreadsheet. They told me the loading may take 3 to 10 minutes, depending on which file you open, because they're maintaining all the relationship about interdependency, intradependency. But now we have what we call it a digital platform, digital EA platform that allow us to configure the so-called the meta model, allow us to do everything analysis in the digital form. So like the documentation is just for the sake of the signing. Even now the signing also can be done electronically. So this could be one of the old norm to the new norm, because you know in the old norm that if you don't see a document as thick as a few hundred pages, you don't feel good. Seem like you haven't done any work. Of course, the joke is that so-called the document will be used to stop the door as the door open, you know, to block the door from closing, etc. And after some time, you don't like the document, you call a Karanguni, then you sell it for 50 cents per kilo. Actually worth few millions, right? So now the new norm is everything digital. Everything is do it in the collaborative way. Okay, I hope I answer that, Jijan. If not, please comment again. So we continue to the next question. There is a perennial gap between those hiring and the talent pool. So many out of work PMET with skill, check out WSG. In WSG website, yeah, we know the skill feature WSG. Career feature doesn't help. Well, we are not in the position on behalf of the WSG. I think, yeah, we are looking after so-called the EA chapters, the profession. And we know that in our profession today, we are short of talents. I can guarantee you, if you're qualified, the thing, they got many, many jobs, which I am going to share with you in Singapore alone today, right? That people requiring a person with this type of skill set competency. And yeah, so far, we haven't found anyone out of job yet. So yeah, so that's why we are creating awareness like this, so that you know that if you have a relevant background, you just need to get yourself certified to get the industry endorsement. Then after that, you can move on into the new career, which is the enterprise architect career. All right, I hope that answer your question. The next one is, how do you structure the enterprise? Do you have a domain model in place? This difficult question, I will let Nelson to answer. Nelson,
okay, so just now, actually, I've shown you a slide. So typical EA architect, we structure into the few key components. There's the business architecting, there's application, there's data, and there's technology. So all these are different technical and non-technical domain that we structured to do our architecting. So based on TOGAF, this is the one that we are doing right now, and we will continue to use it as a reference model for our architectural work.
All right. So I hope that answer the question. So if Joe Hardiman not satisfied, please type in again the question. So we still got plenty of time, so we continue. We still got about 1 hour plus to end the session. Okay, next one. Nelson, how do you see agile architecture being applied in the areas of EA? From Martin.
Agile architecture. So typically, if you look at what I showed in the TOGAF framework, A to H, so basically we are not defining what kind of structure, whether agile or SDLC, that you should use to run your architecture, but it's more of a check and balance. You need to ensure that you design something upfront before you start work on it. You need to ensure that nobody can just start work on a design without a proper design or proper approval. So it's not that how do I do it? All framework can be adopted to use EA TOGAF. Is when you look at your organization framework, how best to fit the TOGAF framework to yours, so that you can ensure the check and balance is there, even though you're running agile and you're moving your project at breakneck speed. So this is on, if you need help, you can engage an EA consultant firm to show that they can help leverage and see what you have, what you don't have, and how to best fit the EA into your agile framework.
Okay, next question. How do you prioritize the application infrastructure and security requirement in designing the EA? Basically, how do you incorporate all the, the various application connectivity, complexity with the infrastructure, and how you fulfill the security requirement? Over to you, Nelson.
Okay, so for us, I'm a technology architect, so I'm infra guy. So actually for what we do in Archimed, there's a lot of viewpoints, and there's quite a few viewpoints for infra, which is called the technology architecture. So in the map, we actually show all the correlation of the design of your security, your firewall, your encryption algorithm, all this in a single view within the technology architecture. So within the technology architecture, you don't have just a typical infra time, you have the security component as well. And you also can have your data center location, everything within inside. And this component is called a TA, which can be mapped to your application architecture, AA. And then you can see how all this correlate. So this is that powerful feature which we talk about lah. So within your TA, you have your TA component. You can put your security component there. There will be some security components which is in the AA itself, the application architecture. You also put your security components there, and you join them up together to give you a good holistic view on what is the security posture of your organization.
All right, let's move on into the next question. So the next question is, do you have to be EA certified like TOGAF or others in order to secure an architecting role? Well, let me just give you my perspective, my experience. You know, I've been practicing architects for many years until I remember in the year of about 2011. Yeah, 2011, about 9 years ago, right? So 9 years ago, I went to Hong Kong and meet up with the group of architects there. Then when I share about talking, presenting, everything okay. Until during dinner time, they asked me, are you a TOGAF certified? I said, no, I'm not TOGAF certified. I said, sorry. If you're not TOGAF certified, you are not qualified as an enterprise architect. Well, how do you feel about that? That is the real statement being made. When I heard that, my heart pained, right? So immediately I went back to the hotel room and I immediately asked my team, what does it take to become a TOGAF certified? Okay, we also want to offer a TOGAF training. That's what in my heart. So after that, of course, immediately my team look at it and then applying to the open group to become a so-called TOGAF accredited trainer. Then, of course, one of the criteria is that I need to pass a TOGAF training. But, you know, it's very hard for me to attend a TOGAF training. But, you know, I told them that, can I do self-study? They said, it's very tough to do self-study. I said, never mind. And I remember at the time during Chinese New Year Eve, so only like, I didn't know about what the TOGAF question about. So I booked the exam, is the right after Chinese New Year. So basically Chinese New Year is like, I said, I don't go anywhere. I want to study TOGAF. Okay, so I did my study. And fortunately, I managed to pass the TOGAF exam. So I got level 1 and level 2. So level 1, because it's the multiple choice, right? So my memory is not that good. So I got 70 plus, fine. But the level 2 is multiple choice 8 question. So question 1 to 8. So every answer actually is ABCD, right? So they got the first correct answer, you got 5 points. Second correct answer, you got 3 points. Then the third correct answer, you got 1 point. And then the fourth correct answer, you got 0. So in order for you to pass, you cannot choose the second best answer, because second best answer, you will not pass the TOGAF exam. So, you know, you need to pass at least a score of the 27, I think, or 28 point. But fortunately, I got full mark. I'm not boasting, but I never attended any TOGAF training. I self-study, so I passed. Then after that, immediately I want to apply as a trainer. So it's like, wow, I never attended any TOGAF training. So I sit for the test. So the level 2, I got full mark. Then after that, I want to apply as a TOGAF trainer. So fortunately, the people in open group recognize me. So they know, they have heard and, you know, my involvement in the industry. So I just have a simple interview with them, right? So I said, okay, we will let you, because we let you as a trainer. Then from there, I've been teaching TOGAF, I think 100 times. Back then in the 2011 until 2015, 16 lah. So I almost teaching TOGAF 100 times across Asia Pacific. Of course, in all the country like Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and etc. So yeah, after that, of course, we got now a trainer teaching. So, but interestingly is that, you know, industry or people are very, very, what do you call it? It's not stereotyping, but if you don't have the certification, even how good you are still not qualified to sit on the table. Okay, so the answer is yes, it is, because otherwise nobody want to study. What you can be study, but you don't have the degree, you don't have the master degree, and then, you know, we cannot get the job, especially the society that we are living in today. So hopefully that answer your question. So the next one is about what is the career progression of EA in an organization. Maybe I would like from Hock Guan. So maybe Nelson can help me. What is you think about the career progression of EA in an organization?
Of course, EA, okay, maybe personally, I start out as a technical architect, then I do solutioning, and now I'm an EA lah. So where do I see? I mean, in many organizations, you also have a chief architect, which oversee the whole thing. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And EA is not just about going up the rank, it's also going up the breadth. So you see, we got a lot of architecture domain, and I'm only specialized in one. There's many other different architecture domain to go. As a chief architect, you actually need to know all the architecture domain relatively well to be able to do so. So I will say that there's still a long way to go. And many organizations have a lot of opportunity for EA right now and chief architects or something at the management level, which require the architecting skill for business transformation. So I believe there will be more and more demand, especially with the need for transformation in the current business climate right now. Yeah.
Right. So there are two questions by Mazli Nitara. The first one is, how can we attract the stakeholders or management to jointly or collaborate with in the adoption of EA in organization? Basically, how do we get the buy-in from the key stakeholders? I think that will be the first question. The second question is that based on our experience, can you share with us how TOGAF ADM can complement or collaborate with project implementation framework? I mean, you're talking about the PMO, how the project being executed with the TOGAF guidance. I believe that will be the second question. So any question you want to pick, Nelson?
Okay, maybe I take the second question. So there's something quite fresh. So okay. How do I do it in the PMO framework? So even before we do this EA transformation, there's already an existing PMO framework in place in the organization, and they have their own check and balance. And when we went inside, when we do the transformation, we are actually we look at the framework and we see where EA can come in, where it can value add. So I give you certain other thing. We have more check and balance. We have architecture governance forum, so that we have can make sure that look at architecture side of things. We have design committee, we have data committee to look at the data architect and the detailed design. So this is the thing that's in place to make sure that architecture design is catered for. So depending on what is your current PMO framework, this can be matched to see. So you're not trying to disrupt your PMO framework and increase so much check and balance until you fail to deliver your project. We are trying to complement to help you to deliver something so that holistically is what the organization needs. Instead of architecting for the next requirement, you are architecting for the whole organization with the end goal in mind. Yeah, that's the value.
Okay, so let me just get back to the question before that. How can we attract stakeholders? Basically, how do we get the buy-in from the key stakeholders in doing EA adoption? So of course, now they got two approaches, right? Either we do top-down or the bottom-up. But if you go bottom-up, it may take forever because it's very hard. You have to break through multiple layers in the enterprise and then political layers and etc. So of course, the only way to do it right is to get at the top-down. The top-down means we get to the key stakeholders. But in order for us to so-called get the buy-in from the key stakeholders, we need to plan the strategy. So basically, we need to find an opportunity, could be so-called a moment or incident that happened. Then after that, we can highlight that actually we need this. That's one of the way. Okay. Second of the so-called method is that, typically all those people in the senior management, whatever you talk to them, whatever you mention to them, anything good, right? When they hear it in their office in Singapore, they said, not true. They said, okay, Nelson, just do it. Okay, don't bother me. Because they are being bogged down by so many issues at hand. So, it doesn't work. So we need to find a conducive avenue or environment that for us to share with him. Okay, if you can't do that locally, we have to bring them overseas. So let me just share with you our actual experience. Okay, so this one we have one guy. This one actually he's trying to get support from his CEO. Okay, so his CEO is a lady, so he's trying to convince the CEO lady to support this EA. But he has been trying many rounds, but somehow the CEO, like, just leave it to him to decide. Then after that, of course, hopefully the COVID-19 pass through. We also conduct the similar event like this, but we don't do it Wemina, we don't do it in Singapore, but we do it in exotic places. Like we bring the sea level to Hong Kong, to Bali, to Japan, to Tokyo, to Osaka, that type of place. Okay, so normally during that time, during the CEO mind or the key stakeholder mind in that time, normally they are more peaceful and they can absorb maybe 200%. Okay, until got one of the incident that this is the true story, that actually the CEO asked him, why didn't we do this? Why only now you brought us this? And I thought the guy told her, boss, I've been telling you for 6 months, but you don't understand this, and you said you leave it to me. I need your support. So this is the life lah. My joke in the past is that, like, your husband and wife, okay, your wife has been telling you, the wife telling the husband about this, and the husband said, okay lah, I know dear, I didn't shut up. Okay, suddenly the husband meet the old friend, offer a drink, and then the old friend telling him the same thing like what the wife told him, and then he followed, and then he went back home, he told the wife, and the wife definitely pissed off, right? This is the joke, by the way, but it's the reality of life. Human sometimes, like, yeah, I know you, so it's like they don't have the open mind. So yeah, various ways. So we have to find the avenue, like that's why they got the CIO breakfast. We also host like chief architect breakfast, whereby actually we are inviting all the key stakeholders or senior management to get them to understand about all these the need to adopt or establish EA in the organization. So I hope that answer you indirectly, right? Because there isn't any direct answer to this depending on your environment. Okay, let's move on to the next question before I continue with Nelson. Still got a few questions to answer. Okay, let's move on into the last one here. After that, but I will not discourage anyone to stop. Please pour in your question. We still got plenty of time to address all your questions. So in the meantime, after we answer this, we go back to the flow again. So the question is, what is the basic skill set or experience required to become architect, whether EA or solution architect or specialized architect? I think this is something similar with the question I asked Nelson earlier. What is his advice for someone who want to switch career to become architects? Okay, perhaps Nelson want to reiterate what you have.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. So maybe I will just reiterate. So basically, there's a few, I presented 3 types of architects. There's technical architects, there's solution architect, and enterprise architect. So technical architects mainly is more from IT perspective, because there's a lot of technical domain, whether application, infra, or other things. But there could also be non-IT related business architects and data architects. And those, so the role of EA actually is open to IT and non-IT. However, to become an architect, you need to know what is EA all about, and not to have the many misconception that people have in the industry about what EA is. So I'm just like I reiterate, I'm a strong believer of education. So get yourself educated, know TOGAF, then with the enabled skill set, you'll be able to look at digital EA transformation from an organization, whether it is a technical or a non-technical role. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So while the rest, we are clear the current question from the floor. Please put in again, pour in your question. We still got a reasonable amount of time to be able to share or answer the question. Okay, let's move on into the next question to Nelson. Maybe this one is the very short question. What do you think about do and don'ts? Okay, that you could share with the audience on your so-called enterprise architecture journey. Do and don'ts. Right?
Do and don't.
Maybe you limit it or less, doesn't really matter. What?
Okay, do know what EA is about. That's very key. Don't think you can architect all by yourself. You need to architect based on a large variety of information from all your different architects to have a holistic architecture for your organization. Yeah.
Very short answer. Do and don'ts.
Yes, short. Do and on.
Okay, now we want to, okay, just now from your personal to enterprise, now let's talk about wider audience, about the nation, okay, in Singapore, right? So based on your so-called your experience or what you see, what do you think we can do more in terms of so-called driving EA adoption?
Okay, first, I think it's good that we have this sharing forum SCS is conducting so that we can share what EA is about and what can be done. So one of the things that we should continue to help to educate EA is that I see a lot of people thinking EA is pure IT, which is actually not the case. Many a time when I do EA, even though when I'm technical, there's a technical solution out there, but I see that tweaking some business process net me a much better result than building or architecting a solution for the business user. So I think to drive this EA adoption, we need to really educate our organization, educate people what EA is about and what it can do, the value it brings to the table. Especially now when everybody is seeing rate because of the economic crisis, it's a very good time to do EA so that the organization stay current in the new normal. Yeah.
Right. So while wait, okay, keep pouring a question. Let me now do a sharing on the SCS EA certification program. So just take it as a commercial break, and then while you're pouring the thing, and then we come back again with the Q&A for the rest of the remaining time. All right. So let me just share my screen now. Okay, so let me just continue just now the continuation into the topic 2. Okay, just now I mentioned about strong industry demand, about the demand of the architects globally as well as in Singapore. Okay, so I think this is one of the perspective on the by the CIO, CIO.com. Basically, is enterprise architect as a digital transformer. I believe you watched a transformer movie before, like how the car can be turned into a robot, how the aeroplane, the train, all can be transformed. So the same thing now, the word of the digital transformation. So it's not by coincidence, like all the industry analysts mentioning that enterprise architecture is actually connected with a successful digital transformation, or EA as a digital transformer. Of course, the next one about disruption. Disruption is coming now. And of course, if you have enterprise architecture, your business can survive because you can change straight away the strategy, your positioning, your model, your structure, and you can know straight away the impact. Because when you go through changes, you need to know all the parameters, you need to know all the impact. Yeah, so that's why it's a very important to have EA in fact, going through the digital disruption. The next one, of course, for innovation. So innovation is there. We have to drive the innovation because in the today digital era or digital transformation, digital disruption everywhere, we need to innovate. Otherwise, our competitor will take over from our place. So it's very important there. The next one, of course, why you need so-called enterprise architect, because you need to so-called integrate between IT and business together to drive transformation. I think Nelson has pointed out this one from his experience. So definitely this CIO.com as well have done the research, and they found it those successful organizations that has embarked into EA, they have a more integration between business and IT. Because what happened is that in the typical organization is that business and IT traditionally are separated. So if any issue that pop up in the system, definitely you ask the business people, we blame IT people. But if you ask the IT people will also blame business people, because they said they even didn't specify this requirement to us, right? But business people say that you should know by default. I don't need to tell you, right? So all these expectations are so-called popping up now and then in many enterprises today. So this is the numbers you can see on the right hand side. Estimated, I think around 6,000, but we qualified my numbers shortly. So of course the tech job also by ZDNet, why the enterprise architect is the new secret weapon. So it's something the role that emerging, but I think now gaining momentum. That's why now in the Singapore Computer Society, we also have the EA chapters, right? Otherwise, if the no industry demand, we will not come out EA chapters. It's no point for us to run the EA chapters, right? Then, of course, the next one is the scarce skill set in the big demand. So this is the reality of our world today. Is enterprise architect is very, very scarce, right? It's very, very difficult to hire. It's almost impossible to get a ready-made architect you can hire locally now. That's why I mentioned earlier that most of them are import professional, and we are going to grow the local talent. So this is the numbers that I've compiled this morning around 11 a.m., right? So of course, you may say that these numbers are, of course, one company can overlap. One company can advertise in the 3 and 4, right? With that assumption, we can slash the 6,000 become, say, 2,000. Or you want to think to be very, very conservative that I want to divide by 5, fine, still got 1,000 job, right? And this 1,000 job, of course, is not that having the real title architect, but the job requirement require architecture skill set. So this is what I'm trying to emphasize, that this organization realize that someone that they hire now and in the near future, the person must know about architecture. At least they know the impact of the business IT integration. They know the impact how to come up with capability map, to develop a strategy, to capture the motivation, to so-called define the business landscape, to define application landscape, infrastructure landscape, as well as the solutioning. So all these are real numbers, and you can click this link. Anyway, the slide will be shared later. You can click this link. So even the numbers drop, maybe only drop 10 or 5. Because this is as fresh as 11 o'clock in the morning today. Yeah. So let me now go through into the body of knowledge. Because what happened is that you want to become an architect. I think that just now earlier got a question about how you become architects. What are the knowledge or skill set required? So let me just go through this with you. So in the SES, we actually have a joint certification program with ISA. So ISA is actually the global architecture professional body. So their main role or main objective in forming up this association is that to look after the architects. So the architect could be a business architect, could be an information architect, or you call it data architect, could be an application architect or software architect, infrastructure architect or technology architect, and solution architect. Okay, so then after that, they develop a body of knowledge. Body of knowledge is very, very important in any professional so-called professionalism, because what happened is that it has a documentation of all the best practices, how to do a particular so-called task. So ISA already developed the body of knowledge, and the body of knowledge has been developed now already in the last 15 years. So now it's version 3. So they are quite matured, and they are capture almost all aspects of our enterprise today, especially now towards driving a digital transformation. So of course, the way they do the development of the body of knowledge, they're going through the qualitative analysis, quantitative. Then after that, they will create a contents and training and certification. So the certification now this year already about 12 years old. So the 12 years old certification for architect are still valid, are still in the big demand today. So in terms of the body of knowledge, actually mentioned just now that they have so-called a specialization. For architects, they got the business architect, information architect, software, infra, and solution that I'm going through with you shortly in the next couple of slides. Then after that, I want to highlight on the pillar. Pillar is something that is very, very important. The first pillar, they call it business technology strategy. So this business technology strategy, today, what we call it is the digital strategy. In the past, we know that the organization, the team have developed a business strategy. Then after that, they got another team develop a technology strategy or IT strategy. Sometimes they call it IT plan. The other one, business plan. But now I think in the era of digital, they are so-called the forces that are requiring business and technology strategy to be one, to be together. Because what we call it digital strategy moving forward. Because technology or digital is now part of our enterprise culture. So it's very, very important for the skill set for any architect to have this business technology strategy competency. The second one is human dynamic. Human dynamic means about dealing with people, because what happened is that when you become an architect, you are mostly dealing with human being. I would say 80% of the job is dealing with human being. So only 20% that you are going to do a modeling, to develop the dashboard, develop the meta model, but 80% you deal with human. So it's very, very important that for architects to have a human dynamic competency, because otherwise you cannot communicate with human. I know that there's a husband and wife both working in IT, but normally they don't talk. Even if you see go to restaurant, yeah, if you notice that a couple that they don't talk, guarantee husband and wife. Typically they still chat but by WhatsApp or by SMS or by email, etc. But they don't really talk in the human language. They're using devices to communicate, and this is not good. For architect, is we still need to talk human face to face. Even now in this pandemic era, we still need to communicate live and be able to talk. The next one is quality attribute. So quality attribute is something about the quality, maintainability, security, availability, all the with the utility, right? This one is very, very important for any design of architecture. Because if anything break in terms of the quality attribute, it may so-called stop the whole business itself. Then the fourth pillar is IT environment. So IT environment here talking about governance, project management, IT service. This is very, very important. And we need to ensure that all these are incorporated into the architecture. And the last pillar is design. So design here is talking about modeling. All these we need to connect between business, information, software, infra, and solution with the design. What we call it a meta model. How do we connect this? So that any changes in the business, we know which are the software or information or infra are impacted. So hopefully this will give you a glance on the body of knowledge that SCS has adopted as part of this so-called SCS EA certification that I'm going to share with you shortly. All right, so this is a typical engagement of an architect. So typically architects are mandated to do the transformation. So the transformation could be from thought leadership, customer journey transformation, skill set transformation, information transformation, operating model transformation, as well as digital business transformation. So, architect expectation is quite high. That's why, as I mentioned, that we need to be trained. Some of the things we need to unlearn and relearn. So we need to look at the what are the changes, the transformation that we can go through, in terms of operation, business, customer, and also employee. Yeah. So the middle part is architect that are playing a so-called, if it is a ball, when you press, so they got the air. The architect is the one that are pumping so-called the oxygen to whole enterprise to run the transformation. So the definition about architects, let me just borrow from the building or the medicine. So they got the word art and science. So the art is where you are typically on the job training. Science is where you can learn from the book or from internet and etc. So the definition of architect is the art and science of designing and delivering valuable technology strategy for the business. So the target audience is the business. I think just now has been repeatedly mentioned by Nelson that many people think that architects must be highly technical. Actually, halfway through, but the other side as well, we also need to know business, how the technology can bring value to the business. So who can become an enterprise architect yesterday? So these are basically a minimum requirement. People typically ask about, you need to have 10 years, you need to perform multiple roles, such as a business role, a senior management role, governance role, development role, and etc. But this is another irony about the requirement. You must fail in a couple of large IT project or digital transformation project and burn millions of dollars, and you are not in Changi prison. So this is, unfortunately, is the reality of life. We haven't seen, let me know if you have ever come across in the Straits Times newspaper that someone jailed because failed a 2 million IT project. Nobody get jailed. Because what happened is that the more you are involved in the larger project, the more the next company want you to get involved in the next project. So it's an irony. But hopefully this one will be fixed and we can move forward that we don't need to fail in the last $1 million IT project. So who can become an enterprise architect today? So basically anyone who has some interest to become architects and having the understanding of the strategic business value of the technology relationship. And of course, with the body of knowledge, we can find someone. So you don't need to be 10 years, you don't need to be a consultant, you don't need to be gifted, you don't need to be a fail in the last IT project or transformation project. So basically can be guided. So let me now zoom in into the EA training courses and certification program. Yeah, so basically they got 5 specialization that are so-called now as the core joint certification for the SCS EA certification program. So let me just go through briefly describe, because just now I think still got some so-called question in terms of the what each architect is doing. So let me just summarize it quickly. Business architect. So business architect basically someone who create and refine business architecture and on the business technology strategy. So what we call it a digital strategy today. And of course, he or she is the digital strategist and also knows technology as well as a business. So business architect is something that currently in the high demand, because what happened is that the transformation team need to have someone with this skill set, competency. Otherwise, they will just run a project. Because many come across that many digital transformation team actually they are just executing a normal project, business as usual, with the title digital being added everywhere. Yeah, so hopefully this is not the case in our environment today. And of course, business architect is also enterprise troubleshooter and understand the application of the technology that may impact business capability. So this is basically with the digital map that we have, we should be able to identify where are the root cause of the problem. The next one is information architect. So information architect is basically someone who create and refine information architecture and on the data dictionary, taxonomy, or governance. And of course, we call it information strategies and design information structure to support the business. Of course, at this point in time, they got many questions. I believe later, I don't know, some of you asked, what's the difference between a data architect and data scientist? I wouldn't do a comparison, but these roles are playing at a different level. So data architect is working very closely with the key stakeholders and capturing the business needs or business requirement, whereby the data scientist is more on the execution into the project when the requirement is being defined. So data scientist will define where does the data come from, how do you format, how do you present, right? So of course they got some overlapping, like the software engineer and software architect. Software engineer also need to know about business analysis, system analysis, but software architect actually playing at a different role because looking at the connectivity, the entire landscape end to end, and of course connect to the business. One thing that I think just now I have not highlighted, if you are not a full-time business architect, if you are information architect, software architect, or infrastructure architect, or solution architect, your secondary role must be a business architect. Yeah, I repeat. So if you are architect, not a full-time business, is not a full-time business architect, you are other architect, your secondary role must be a business architect because you need to relate all your solutioning, your information, your infrastructure to the business. Yeah. So basically, information architect, someone who can troubleshoot the information and of course understand the business decision-making process. That's why you need to find or work with the data scientist, how to get the data, how to format the data to present it to the business, to make it useful and relevant. The next one is software architect. I think software architect is quite mature. Many of us, if you are in the software development, you are pretty much already understand about the patterns, about all the so-called application, now of course microservices and etc. But one thing to highlight is that we need to understand connectivity and also need to support the business. That is the key word here, is supporting the business. So we need to identify any potential silo that may impact business process flow. The next one on the infrastructure. So infrastructure basically someone who own the server topology, network infrastructure, and data center with compute environment to ensure business continuity. Again, the word is business continuity. Whatever we do, we design the so-called infrastructure, be it in the cloud, private cloud, or the public cloud, or hybrid, etc. We need to ensure that business continuity is maintained or preserved, because otherwise we are interrupting or stopping the business. And of course, it is also called the technology strategist and design technology landscape to support the business. Yeah, so understand all the technology disruption that may impact business continuity. So this is in essence what is infra. So let me just zoom into the last architect, which is the solution architect. So solution architect actually is the someone who perform the role of architecture inside the project. So I repeat, yeah. So if you have someone that the project 6 months, you will need to assign the architect. So that architect is performing the role of solution architect, because the solution architect understand about the technology availability today, about the vendor capability, and how to map that, to apply that into the architecture that has been designed by the business, information, software, and infrastructure. So we call this person also IT strategist, and basically understand about system development and implementation to support the business. And of course, it is also the system troubleshooter. So understand the discrepancy between architecture building block and the solution building block that's supporting the business. So this is a typical solution architect. And of course, the word solution architect here is the one that often being abused in the industry, because many vendors also in the name card put solution architect.
but actually doing business development. But this is what we are talking about, solution architect, that you assign architect into the project. So in the project 6 months, maybe architect staying there for 3 months or 4 months, depending on the phases of the project. All right, so this is, I think, the one that has been waiting for in terms of the SES. So you see all the training courses that has the SES. This is the one that have a joint certification. Basically, it's pretty much the SES EA certification program. Yeah. So let me just give you the highlight for the first one, the bottom there, Business IT Architecture Fundamental. So this course basically giving you alignment between what business understanding or business expectation with the IT team. So this is a very good course to for those enterprise that who want to start the journey, how to make business people understand IT challenges and also how to communicate with them. Vice versa, how the IT people also need to understand business challenges and how to communicate with them. So this is a very impactful in terms of the bringing business and IT together. Then the next one, we call it architecture core. So architecture core is actually about the journey, about particular enterprise setting up the architecture. So you'll be assigned to a particular so-called joining a company, and you are given a 17 scenario. What's happened to the particular enterprise that you are joining? Of course, if enterprise without IT, without enterprise architecture, they will definitely in the firefighting mode. So basically, the CIO also under pressure to reduce the IT budget, and the business people blame the IT people that their sales are inflexible, therefore they cannot close more sales because they cannot change the client. One is locked in order, they cannot change the so-called the volume or quantity or the parameters. So they got many chaotic things. So let me just give you a couple of the scenario. So you'll be going through a 17 scenario. So the first scenario is that on your first day, you bump with the CEO of this particular company. And this particular company, the CEO asking you, oh, Aaron, welcome. I've been waiting for your role for many months. Now finally you are here. Next week, I give you 10-minute slot to present what you can do with your enterprise architecture, competency and discovery about our company. So of course, the first workshop is that we need to prepare 10 minutes presentation to the senior management about what is our finding and present a solution. So of course, we do a presentation guided. Then after that, that's the first workshop. Then of course, at the end of the first workshop, the CFO, tell you, Aaron, you have done a good job. I like your proposal. I think you have a spot on. You know all the problem we have, and we like your solution. But we haven't allocated the budget for you. How much money do you need? That will become the workshop number 2. So workshop number 2 is that we need to present to the CFO how much money on effort do we need. And when you talk to the CFO, you cannot talk to CPIP or XML. You need to talk financial terminology. So like net present value, total cost of ownership, ROI, or edit bar, and etc. So we need to be able to communicate a financial terminology to the CFO, because to the CFO don't care about cloud, CFO don't care about TCP/IP, CFO don't care about your microservices, CFO also don't care about either you buying any particular vendors. To CFO is that I invest this money, what is my return? So we need to be able to do that. That's workshop number 2. Then workshop number 3 is that it's quite tough. You need to convince the entire IT team, that about 100 of them, that they have not been following any architecture practice, so they don't have EA. Now you have to tell them how to basically how to tell them, guys, now is the time, we need to change, we need to transform, and we need to send you for training and etc. So we need to convince now the architecture team, the IT team, to follow the architecture. Then workshop number 4, 5, 6, you need to convince the line of business to tell them that you have a value proposition. They need to talk to you. Okay, so this is the typical architecture core. Got 17 of them. It's quite interesting and also tiring, but it's quite rewarding. Then of course you can go to TOGAF, TOGAF 9.2. Then after that, couple with the Archimate. So Archimate, just now Nelson already mentioned about the building block, about the notation, about the language that make I think EA more clarity, and also EA much more simpler than what TOGAF described. But you still cannot skip TOGAF, because TOGAF giving us the fundamental and mindset so that we can stop things when things go misalignment. So TOGAF will help us put us on the track. Then after that, you can go to the BTS. So BTS, something like the mini MBA. So in the BTS is that business technology strategy. This is where you can understand about the decap more on your enterprise. We also need to know our competitor, what they do. We need to know the regulation. We need to know the entire mapping, the entire stakeholders in the enterprise, who has a political attention internally. We need to map that. Let's call about business technology strategy. Then after that, you can go to the specialization of the business information, infra, software, and solution. Okay, I think I haven't told you how many days. This one is the 4 days. The top one, the specialization is 4 days. BTS also 4 days. Archimate is 3 days. TOGAF is 4 days. Architecture core is 4 days, and the BTAF, the bottom part, is 3 days. And of course, we also have one more is architecting software with OAD. This is for the software development team who want to develop a structural approach using UML. And of course, you might think that this course is common. Yes, it is very common. In fact, many of the diploma or poly or university also teaching. But the only uniqueness is that this is a connected modeling scenario. Meaning the workshop, about 12 workshops are connected into a single case study. So you can see the connectivity. Whereby many books out there, when you buy the book about OAD or UML, they have a disparate, a disconnected scenario. So you can't really build a proper UML modeling. Yeah. All right. So this is all the SCS certification, and let me just continue with the next one. So all the certification that you just now you mentioned in the previous slide has been mapped with the skill future. Okay. So the skill future is all has been mapped. Otherwise, we cannot get the grant. So let me just go through the grant quickly. This is my second 2 slides. Then after that, we'll go back into the Q&A again with Nelson to answer all your questions. So keep pouring in your question to us, and then we will share the answer together. So of course, these are the funding. So 70% funding for those for Singaporean below 40 years old, and also all Singapore permanent resident. So if you're Singapore permanent resident, even though you are 23 years old or 20 years old, you are eligible for 70% funding. Yeah, and of course, only for Singapore citizen, if you're 40 years and above, you got 90% grant. Yeah, so these are the courses that has been mapped with the skill future and supported. On top of that, if you are NTUC self-employed person, they also have a support claim up to $11 per training, hour. Sorry, $11 per training hour. So if the training is 3 days, 3 days is 24 hours, you may get another 200 or 300, few $100 from Singapore government and NTUC. So for more information, I think you can contact our office, SCS directly. So these are so-called, seen definitely people ask how much would they cost. So basically, these are the table, the training. So basically, we are looking at the green one because the yellow one is insignificant, because most of us, I think, unless you are a foreign employment pass holder, employment pass holder, unfortunately, there isn't any grant for you. You have to pay the yellow price. But for the green price, for 70% grant for any Singapore PR and Singapore citizen below 40 years old, these are the pricing. Yeah. And of course, the second one is on the those above 40 years old. So one thing that this training come with the certification. So SCS also running a promotion. So you are some sort given an insurance. You are given a second life. Should anything happen with your exam, you are given a second voucher without question asked, so that you can don't need to be under tremendous pressure, because some of the examination cost almost 1,300 Sing dollar. So we SCS will provide you a second voucher, complimentary, should anything happen with your first exam attempt. Okay, but so far the take-up rate, I think less than 5%. Those who are taking the second retake. Yeah. All right. With that, I think I want to go back into my Q&A. Okay. So where are we now? Okay, there are only 2 more questions. Any financial help to cover the 30% not subsidized? That one I can't answer. I don't know. I don't. Anyone? Maybe you can approach SCS office on the. I believe you are the PR or Singaporean below 40 years old. About 30%. How to cover that? Yeah, you can check with the office. Second, how to bridge between balance 30% APR with no skill future. No, PR will be we entitled. So the second question about how to bridge the balance. So PR will be entitled for the guarantee 70%. So the PR price will be the second green price there, 70%. If you are permanent resident, so regardless of the age. Yeah, unless you are Singaporean above 40, 40 is still not eligible. So must wait for your birthday, 40 something. Then you're eligible for 90%. Right. Any more question? Any question the rest? Or you want to end early? But you cannot go home early, right? It's already at home.
You're right, man.
I want to go home early. I don't want to go home. Let's end now. This is the typical joke we used to do. Any question, etc. The rest? Nasan, you want to say something to wrap up the so-called seem like normal question? Everything has been answered.
Okay, maybe I just do a wrap up. So actually, thank you everybody for taking the time to come to this, and I will hope that you all can also continue on a course to promote EA and what kind of value it can bring, and we also hope that more people can join the EA team in Singapore and help to map out digital EA transformation. And most importantly is to groom the local talent for this lah. So with that, I think thank you very much for the time. So if you've got any issue or any more question, can just write into us. We can do our best to answer anything else offline lah.
Okay, I think my last comment is that if you are not an SES member yet, please join SES, and of course don't forget join our EA chapters. And if you're already a SES member and you have not joined our EA chapters, please do so. so that hopefully after the thing settling, we can meet face to face again, because we also miss human, right? Even though we talk like this, I know they got about many of you there, but we don't see each other, so it's still like talking with my computer. So hopefully, we can meet again. All right. With that, I think thank you so much for your time, and hope to see you again in the near future. Oh, by the way, we also have another workshop in the SES, so you can check with our in our website. I think that we inform you. All right. Okay. Thanks again, everyone. Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you everybody. See you all. Stay safe. Bye bye.